I didn't sleep the night after they announced it, not because I was excited, because every time I closed my eyes, I heard my VP's voice again, bright, effortless, confident, saying my name like he'd just handed me a new life. Congratulations, you've earned it. Effective immediately. 200 people clapped. My manager Darren slapped my back hard enough to sting. My coworkers leaned in with those half smiles that mean you made it, and now you're on your own. I smiled on autopilot. I shook hands. I did the little humble laugh people expect. But the moment I got back to my desk, my body did that thing it does when something's wrong. My stomach tightened, my jaw locked, and my hands got cold. Because I knew how this company worked. Promotions didn't happen in the room. They happened in systems, in forms, in approvals, in pay bands and cost centers and org charts that took weeks to update, unless someone wanted them updated today. So I did what I always do when I'm not sure if I should trust people. I checked the file. I opened our internal org portal, the one HR and finance pretend doesn't matter, but everyone uses for approvals, access requests, and who gets blamed when something breaks. I searched my name. My title was the same. My level was the same. My manager line was the same. No lead, no manager, no new team, nothing. Just my old role, sitting there like the announcement never happened. I refreshed, logged out, logged back in, tried another browser, still nothing. And that's when the first message hit. A director I'd spoken to maybe 3 times in my life pinged me. Hey, congrats. You're taking the integration rollout, right? We need your sign-off by end of day. I stared at the screen. Integration rollout. That wasn't a project. That was a moving train. It touched identity systems, access controls, payroll mappings, everything the company needed to function after the acquisition. It was also the kind of work where if anything went wrong, someone's name had to be on the incident report. And apparently that name was going to be mine. I replied carefully like you do when you're suddenly standing on thin ice. Thanks. I'm still waiting on HR to update the org. Can you loop in Darren for confirmation? 3 dots. Then, Darren said you're already it. We're behind. Please don't slow this down. I felt heat crawl up my neck, because now the pattern was forming. Public promotion, private silence. I opened my calendar. Already meetings had moved. My one-on-one with Darren was pushed indefinitely. A new recurring meeting appeared. Integration War Room, daily. No one asked if I could. No one asked if I wanted to. It was just assigned. I walked over to Darren's office. He had the door open like always because he liked people seeing him available, even when he wasn't. He was laughing with someone from HR, Megan, I think. She had a clipboard and the kind of smile people wear when they're about to tell you policy, like it's a law of physics. When Darren saw me, his smile didn't disappear. It sharpened. Look at you, he said, standing up like he was about to give me another speech. Big time now. I kept my voice steady. Hey, quick question. The org chart still shows me in my old role. Megan glanced down at her clipboard. Those changes can take some time. Darren waved a hand like it was nothing. Systems lag. Everyone knows that. Don't worry about it. I didn't move. I'm being asked for sign-off on integration. If I'm not officially in the role, I don't have the right approvals. Darren's eyes flicked toward Megan for half a second, so fast most people would miss it. Then he smiled wider. You're thinking like a leader already, he said. See? This is why we picked you. He leaned closer, lowering his voice like we were sharing a secret. Just handle it. We'll get the paperwork caught up. Megan nodded, still smiling, but her eyes didn't match. And I knew right then what was happening. They wanted the output of the promotion without the cost, without the protections, without the title in the system that would make it real. Because the moment the org file changed, I'd be harder to undo. But if the org file stayed the same, they could applaud me in public today and deny me in private tomorrow. I walked back to my desk and opened our access request system. A request was already waiting. Grant elevated permissions for integration pipeline. Requester, the same director. Approver, me. But the system flagged it in red. Approver level insufficient. I stared at that message for a long time, because it wasn't just a glitch, it was proof. The company's own systems were telling me the truth. I didn't exist, is what they just called me, and if something went wrong, if the rollout failed, if the auditors came asking, I wouldn't be the promoted lead who owned the project. I'd be the old role employee who acted outside his authority. The kind of employee they could throw under the bus with a straight face. My phone buzzed again. Another message. Hey, we need you to present the rollout plan to legal at 3. Darren said you're leading. I looked at the time. It was already afternoon, and suddenly the applause from the morning felt like it happened years ago. I opened a blank note and started writing down everything I knew. Dates, messages, who said what, where it happened, what the org file showed, what the system flagged. Not because I wanted revenge, not yet. Because I'd learned the hard way that when a company lies to you with a smile, the only thing that protects you is a record they can't argue with later. And as I typed, one thought kept repeating in my head, simple, cold, and undeniable. If they announced my advancement before updating the org file, they did it that way for a reason. By the time legal called me in, the promotion already had teeth. They didn't invite me as a courtesy. They invited me because they needed a name on the risk. I didn't know it yet, but the org file wasn't the only thing they kept off the record. At 3 o'clock, I walked into a glass conference room with 2 attorneys from internal legal, a security lead, and a program director named Priya, who looked like she'd been awake for 2 days. A slide deck was already on the screen. Integration rollout. Access and data handling. Priya nodded at me. You're leading this now, right? There it was again. Leading, spoken like a fact. Like the system had caught up. One of the attorneys, Tom, older, calm, said, we need to confirm who is accountable for approvals on the identity migrations. Specifically, who signs off on exceptions. Exceptions. That word makes my skin crawl. Exceptions are how breaches happen. Exceptions are how auditors ruin careers. Exceptions are also how executives hit deadlines when the proper process would take weeks. I kept my tone neutral. Before we talk approvals, I need clarity on my role. HR hasn't updated anything yet. I don't have the approver level in the system. Priya exhaled through her nose like she was trying not to snap. Darren told us you're the point person. We can't wait for HR. We're already behind. Tom leaned back. In practice, someone has to own it. We're not here to debate titles. I felt my irritation rise, hot, immediate, because that's exactly how companies set traps. They treat titles like vanity and accountability like a volunteer opportunity. I'm not debating titles, I said. I'm saying I can't legally and technically approve things I'm not authorized to approve. The tools won't let me, and if someone pushes it through under my name anyway, that becomes a compliance problem. The security-led Mason finally looked up from his laptop. Wait, the tools won't let you approve? Then who's approving? That question landed like a weight. Everyone turned to Priya. Priya didn't look surprised. That was what scared me. She looked annoyed, like my lack of access was an obstacle, not a warning sign. Darren can approve, she said quickly. Or we can root through his delegate. Tom said, we need one accountable owner, not a relay race. I watched them talk around the problem the same way people talk around a cracked foundation. Everyone acknowledged it. No one wanted to stop building. After the meeting, Priya caught me in the hallway. Listen, she said, lowering her voice. I don't care what your title says. I care that this rollout happens. Darren said you're the only one who understands the dependency map. If we miss the timeline, the integration office escalates to the VP level. It already is at the VP level, I said. She stared at me for a second, then softened just a fraction. Then you know why we can't slow down. I walked back to my desk and opened the access ticket again. Same red flag. Approver level insufficient. So I did the next logical thing. I opened an HR case. Not a casual message, not a hallway conversation. A case, time-stamped, trackable. Subject, role change not reflected in org system. Access approvals required for assigned responsibilities. I included the exact wording of the public announcement. I included the names of the meeting attendees. I included the fact that I was being asked to approve compliance-sensitive changes without system authorization. Then I attached screenshots, the org portal showing my old title, the access request showing me as approver, the red denial from the system. I hit submit. Within minutes, I got an automated response. Thank you for contacting HR operations. Your case has been assigned. Estimated response time, 5 business days. 5 business days. I laughed out loud once, in a way that wasn't funny, because the rollout was daily. The pressure was hourly, and they were offering me 5 business days like it was generous. My phone buzzed again. Darren. Hey, he said, cheerful. Heard legal's leaning on you. That's good. Visibility. I opened an HR case. I said, I need the org file updated, or I need written confirmation that I'm not accountable for approvals. A pause, not long, just long enough to be deliberate. Yeah, you're overthinking it, Darren said. This is what leaders do. They step up before the systems catch up. That's a speech? I replied. Not an answer. His tone cooled. Look, we announced it. That's real. HR will catch up. I need it in writing, I said again. From HR or from you. Another pause. Then Darren did the thing he always did when he wanted to corner someone without sounding aggressive. Are you saying you don't want the promotion? There it was, the manipulation packaged as concern. I'm saying I want the promotion to exist in the system the company uses to assign blame, I said, because right now I'm getting the work without the authority. Darren sighed like I was exhausting him. Fine, I'll talk to Megan. He hung up before I could respond. An hour later, Megan from HR pinged me with a polite little message that read like a template. Hi, congrats again on your advancement. Org changes are processed in batches. Please continue to work with your manager on interim coverage. Interim coverage. That phrase hit me harder than it should have, because interim coverage is what you say when you want someone to do a job without formally placing them in it. I replied, Can you confirm in writing whether I am the accountable approver for integration exceptions? Her response came fast. I'm not able to advise on accountability. Please refer to your manager. I stared at it. HR couldn't advise on accountability. Legal wanted a single accountable owner. The program office wanted approvals, and Darren wanted me to step up. It was a closed loop, a perfect circle designed, so no one had to take responsibility for putting me in the crosshairs. That's when the irritation turned into something sharper. I opened our internal change management tool, where all high-risk changes required a named owner, a business approver, and a post-implementation review. And I searched my name. What came up made my stomach drop. A change request already existed for the identity migration. Owner, me. Accountable, me. Pager escalation contact, my personal number. I hadn't created it. I clicked the audit trail. The request was created under Priya's admin account, but the ownership was assigned by Darren's delegate permissions, meaning someone used Darren's authority to pin the change to me. And then I saw the last line in the audit log, owner assignment locked after approval chain initiated. Locked. They had put my name on the risk in a system that didn't care what my title was. A system auditors actually used. A system that generated reports. For a few seconds, I just sat there, breathing slowly, feeling that familiar corporate nausea, like you're watching someone set fire to a room and hand you the lighter. Then something happened that felt like the first crack in their control. In the HR case portal, my ticket status updated. Not resolved, not answered, but escalated. A new name appeared as the assigned analyst, Erica S., HR Operations. And under internal notes, visible by mistake or by mercy, there was one line. Employee not yet approved in compensation workflow. Manager requested announcement ahead of final approvals. I read it twice, then a third time, because that single sentence meant everything. It meant the announcement wasn't the end of the process. It meant Darren had pushed the celebration before securing the actual approval. It meant, officially, I wasn't advanced. I was marketed. And now I had it in their own system, time-stamped, attached to my case. That night, I stopped being grateful. I started being careful. I saved screenshots. I exported the audit trail. I forwarded the HR case update to my personal email with the attachments intact. Then I opened the change request again and looked at the schedule. The rollout window was set for Friday night, and the post-implementation review meeting was already on the calendar. Title, Lessons Learned, Owner to Present. If my name stayed locked on that change by Friday, I wasn't just being used, I was being positioned for the fall. And I needed to know one thing before I made my next move. Who exactly were they planning to blame when this went wrong? And then silence. The kind that means something's gone wrong. The next morning, nobody mentioned the org file. Nobody followed up on my HR case. Nobody replied to my message about accountability. But the work kept arriving like it had its own gravity. Priya dropped a new deck in my inbox with a subject line that sounded like a command. Final rollout plan. Need your approval. Legal added me to a thread about exception language. Security tagged me on an access review. And every single one of those messages carried the same unspoken assumption. You're in charge. So if this breaks, it's on you. I opened the change request again, the one with my name locked as owner, and stared at the audit trail like it was a crime scene. The timestamp was clean. The permissions were real. Darren's delegate access had been used exactly once, at exactly the right moment, to assign me the risk and then seal it. That's when the truth stopped being a suspicion and became something heavier. This wasn't a promotion that hadn't finished processing. This was a role they wanted me to perform, without ever letting me become it. Because if I never became it in the org file, I could be discarded like a contractor. But if I performed it in the systems that mattered, change control, audit trails, incident ownership, then I could still be blamed like a leader. I pulled up my HR case and read Erica's internal note again. Employee not yet approved in compensation workflow. Manager requested announcement ahead of final approvals. My eyes kept catching on the phrase not yet approved, like my brain didn't want to accept how simple it was. Darren announced a future that didn't exist, and now he needed me to behave like it did. I didn't rage. I didn't storm into his office. I did something quieter, and for me, it was worse. I started building a timeline. I opened a document and wrote it like an incident report. The date and time of the all-hands announcement. Who spoke? Who was present? The org portal still showing my old title afterward. The access request system rejecting me as insufficient level. The change request assigning me as owner, created under Priya's admin account, reassigned using Darren's delegate permission. Erica's internal HR note confirming the compensation workflow wasn't approved. No emotion, no interpretation, just facts that could survive an argument. Then I set up 2 meetings, one with Mason from security, one with Erica from HR ops. Mason accepted first. He came to my desk with his laptop open, posture tight, like a guy who knew he was walking into politics. I didn't waste time. I showed him the access denial, then the change request, then the audit trail. His face changed in small steps. Confusion, then concern, then that particular frustration people get when they realize they're being asked to rubber stamp something they'll be blamed for later. "This can't stand," he said quietly. "Then help me fix it," I said, "because I can't. The system says I'm not authorized." Mason scrolled to the owner field. "It's locked." "I know," he exhaled. "Owner lock happens after the approval chain starts. That means someone initiated it immediately after assigning you." "Exactly." He looked up. Do you want me to escalate to the change governance team? I met his eyes. I want the owner to be the person who can actually approve and the person who told everyone I'm leading. Mason didn't smile, but there was a flicker of respect in his expression, like he expected me to swallow it and keep moving. Okay, he said, but if we do that, it delays the rollout. Then it delays, I said, because I'm not taking the fall for a schedule they chose over process. Mason nodded once. Send me your evidence. I'll open a compliance note. If this touches identity systems, we have policies, and policies don't care about Darren's speeches. After he left, my calendar pinged. Erica. She didn't come to my desk. She asked me to meet her near the HR operations area, away from open floors, away from Darren's line of sight. Erica was younger than I expected, but not naive. Her face had the tired neutrality of someone who'd seen every form of managerial pressure and had learned to leave no fingerprints. I can't discuss internal comments, she said right away, before I even sat down. I'm not asking you to, I replied. I'm asking you to confirm what's true. Am I officially promoted in the HR system? Erica hesitated, then clicked through her screen. Her voice stayed flat. Your job change is pending. It hasn't cleared compensation approval. Meaning I'm not advanced. In the system, not yet. Why not? She paused long enough that her silence answered me first. Then she said carefully, there are budget controls in place because of the integration. Certain changes require additional sign-off. Sometimes managers announce things before those sign-offs are complete. Sometimes. Like it was normal. Like it was a harmless shortcut. I leaned forward. Erica, I'm being assigned as accountable owner for high-risk changes. Legal is asking who signs exceptions. Security tools won't let me approve. Yet my name is locked into an audit trail. That's not sometimes. That's a trap. Her eyes flicked up to mine, not defensive, not surprised, just aware. I understand your concern, she said, which is what HR people say when they do understand, and also can't say anything else. I need something concrete, I said. If I refuse to approve changes I'm not authorized to approve, will that be treated as insubordination? Erica's mouth tightened slightly. I can't advise on how your management will interpret your actions. Then advise on policy. That landed. Erica tapped a few keys, then turned her screen slightly so I could see a policy header, not the whole document, just enough to be real. Accountability must align with authorized role and assigned approver level, she said, reading it like she'd memorized the safe parts. Can you send me that? I can send you the link to the policy, she replied. Not an interpretation. Send it? She did? I walked back to my desk with one clear thing in my head. They'd been trying to make this emotional, personal, a loyalty test. But the only leverage I had in a company like this was procedure, because procedure leaves paper. I opened an email and addressed it to the smallest group that mattered. Darren, Priya, Tom from legal, Mason from security, Erica from HR ops. I wrote it like a professional would, calm, precise. Hard to argue. I stated that my org role change was pending in HR workflow, that my approver level was insufficient in the access system, that a change request had assigned me as accountable owner despite that. That policy requires accountability to align with authorized role and approver level, that I would continue supporting technically, but approvals and exceptions sign-off must be routed through an authorized approver until the org change was finalized. Then I attached the screenshots. I read it twice before sending, because I knew the moment I hit send, the dynamic would change. And for the first time since the all-hands applause, I felt something close to relief. Not because I'd won, because I'd stopped playing their game. 2 minutes after I sent it, Priya replied first. Are you blocking the rollout? I answered with one line. I'm protecting the company and myself from an audit failure. Tom from Legal replied next. Understood. We will require authorized sign-off for exceptions. Mason added, I'll coordinate with change governance to correct ownership alignment. And then Darren replied, just one sentence. Come to my office. Now. My hands didn't shake. My heart didn't race. But I felt the shift, like the air in the room got thinner. Because I finally understood what the promotion had really been. A public promise they could withdraw at any time. As long as they could paint me as the problem when I refused to carry risk, I didn't legally own. And as I stood up to walk to Darren's office, I realized something else. Something that hit like a small, cold burst of clarity. And they thought I'd back down the moment they pressured me. They were wrong. Darren's office smelled like espresso and expensive cologne. One of those spaces designed to make you feel small without anyone saying it out loud. He didn't tell me to sit. He just stared at me like I'd embarrassed him in front of the whole company. You made me look bad, he said. I stated facts, I replied, and I attached screenshots. He gave a short, humorless laugh. Screenshots. You people love screenshots. Then his tone shifted. Sweet, almost paternal. Look, I'm trying to help you, he said. You finally get visibility, and your first move is to throw policy in everyone's face. My first move was to make sure I don't get blamed for something I'm not authorized to approve. He leaned forward. You're authorized because I say you are. That was the line, the one that told me he still didn't understand what I'd done. In rooms like his, authority is social. It's eye contact and tone and who laughs at your jokes. In an audit, authority is a field in a system. I said evenly, the tools don't recognize because Darren said so. His jaw tightened. So what? You're going to hold up integration over a technicality? It's not a technicality, I said. It's the difference between leadership and scapegoating. His eyes flicked. Anger, then calculation. He sat back, hands clasped, like he was choosing a different weapon. You're overreacting, he said, and you're not thinking strategically. Strategic would have been waiting to announce the advancement until approvals cleared. That did it. He stood up fast, palms on the desk. Stop saying it like that. It's done. It's announced. It's announced? I agreed. Not updated. For a second, the room went quiet in that sharp way, like the air was holding its breath. Then Darren smiled. Not friendly, controlled. Okay, he said. If you want to be procedural, let's be procedural. He opened his laptop, turned it slightly away from me, and started typing. I watched him do it because I knew what was coming before it arrived. 2 minutes later, I got the email. Subject: clarification of responsibilities. He'd copied Priya, legal, HR, and, of course, his director. The message was polished, corporate, and lethal. He wrote that I was hesitating to take ownership, that I was creating delays, and that until alignment was reached, he would temporarily oversee approvals, while I continue supporting. It was framed like he was saving the project from me, but that was just the beginning. Because a minute later, another notification hit. A calendar invite titled Performance Alignment Check-In. Attendees, me, Darren, and an HR business partner I'd never met. Time, tomorrow morning. That was his play. If he couldn't pin the audit risk on me, he'd pin the narrative. Make me look unstable, difficult, not leadership material. So I did the only thing that works in a situation like that. I made it impossible for him to lie cleanly. I replied to his email immediately in the same thread, with the same calm tone. I thanked him for confirming he would oversee approvals until my authorized role and approver level were updated. Then I added one sentence that was both polite and sharp. Given that the rollout owner field is currently locked to my name in change management, please advise when the change advisory board will reassign ownership to an authorized approver to align with policy. And I attached the audit trail again. This time, Tom from legal responded within 5 minutes. We cannot proceed with exceptions without authorized sign-off. KB must align ownership with approver authority. Mason from security followed. I've already raised a governance ticket. SABI review scheduled today. Priya wrote, this is going to blow our timeline. I didn't answer her. I couldn't fix the timeline. I could only fix the trap. At 2 o'clock, I joined the cabbie call. It wasn't dramatic. That's the thing people don't understand. Corporate consequences don't come with music. It was 12 rectangles on a screen. Change governance. Security. Compliance. A release manager. Someone from the integration office. And Darren. He joined late, on purpose, like he wanted to look too important to be on time. The governance lead, Alicia, started without ceremony. We have an ownership alignment issue on a high-risk identity migration, she said. Current owner is assigned to an employee not reflected as authorized approver in HR systems. The owner field is locked. We need to decide whether to unlock and reassign or halt the change. Darren spoke up immediately. This has been exaggerated, he said. The employee is acting as lead. The org file will catch up. We can't afford bureaucracy right now. Alicia didn't flinch. It's not bureaucracy, it's control. Who is the authorized approver today in the system? Darren tried to pivot. I am, which is why I can oversee approvals. Mason cut in. Then ownership should match that. Right now it doesn't. Priya's face was tight. Can we just keep him listed and have Darren approve? It's a formality. Tom from legal replied, calm and final. In an audit, that's not a formality. That's misrepresentation. Alicia asked, who initiated the approval chain that locked the owner field? Silence. Because everyone on that call knew the answer was going to be ugly. Alicia shared her screen and read from the audit trail. Owner assigned via delegate permissions associated with Darren's account, she said. Approval chain initiated within minutes. That sequence is atypical. Darren's smile didn't move, but his eyes did. He was calculating angles. That's standard delegation, he said. We were moving fast. Alicia nodded once like she'd heard him but didn't accept it. Moving fast doesn't mean bypassing accountability controls, she said. We'll unlock and reassign ownership to an authorized approver immediately. Darren, you will be listed as owner and accountable for this change until HR workflow completes and approver levels are updated. For a second, I didn't feel victory. I felt something cleaner, relief, because that single change meant the blast radius moved off my chest. Then Alicia added, and due to the misuse of delegate permissions, in a compliance-sensitive change, we're suspending Darren's delegate capability pending review. Darren's face changed, just a fraction, but enough. He started to speak, then stopped. That was my microsecond of catharsis, not because I wanted him humiliated. Because for the first time, a system pushed back, Alicia continued. This rollout will proceed only if the owner and approver alignment is correct. If timeline is impacted, escalation goes to the integration office sponsor. Priya looked like she might explode. Darren looked like he'd swallowed something sharp. And I sat there silent, letting the facts do what they were supposed to do. After the call, my change management dashboard refreshed. Owner, Darren. Accountable, Darren. Escalation contact, Darren. My phone didn't light up with praise. It lit up with tension. Darren called me immediately. I let it ring twice, then answered. His voice was tight. Happy now? No, I said. Safe. He exhaled like I'd insulted him. You just cost us time. You cost us integrity, I said. I just stopped it from landing on me. He went quiet for a beat, then said low, Tomorrow's HR meeting is still on. I'll be there, I said. He hung up. I stared at my screen for a long moment, watching the updated ownership fields, watching my name disappear from the place it never should have been. And I thought that would be the end of it. But that night, at 9, I got another notification, not from Darren, from HR. My pending advancement workflow had changed status. Not approved, not denied. It said, on hold, budget review. And suddenly the whole thing made a different kind of sense. Because if the budget review was real, then Darren hadn't just announced my advancement early. He'd announced something he wasn't sure he could pay for. And if he couldn't pay for it, he'd needed a different way to extract value from me. A way that didn't require approval. A way that required blame. I closed my laptop and sat in the dark, hearing the applause from that Monday morning in my head like a recording. 200 people clapping for a promotion that didn't exist. And the next day, HR was going to look me in the eye and tell me what this really was. The next morning, I walked into the HR meeting with my laptop closed and my notes already printed. Not because I wanted to win, because I'd learned that when someone tries to rewrite your story, the only defense is a timeline they can't erase. In the room were 3 people: Darren, the HR business partner, Lydia, and me. Lydia had that polished, calm HR voice, the one that sounds kind until you realize it's trained to absorb impact. "Thanks for joining," she said. "This is a performance alignment conversation. We've heard there were concerns about ownership and decision-making delays." Darren didn't look at me. He looked at Lydia, like I wasn't a person in the room, just a problem being managed. "He's creating friction," Darren said. "We needed momentum. Instead, he escalated it into governance and slowed the rollout. That's not leadership." I waited, let him spend his credibility. Then I slid 1 page across the table. It was a simple, dated timeline. Bullet points, times, names, systems. Lydia glanced down. "What is this?" "Facts," I said. "In order." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue emotion. I walked her through it the way you'd walk someone through a change request. The all-hands announcement, the org file still showing my old role, the access tools denying me approver authority, legal asking who signs exceptions, the change request assigning me as owner and locking it. The audit trails showing Darren's delegate permissions were used to assign my name. HR ops confirming my workflow was pending compensation approval. Governance unlocking and reassigning ownership, and suspending Darren's delegate capability pending review. Then after that, my advancement being placed on hold for budget review. Lydia stopped me at that last point. "Your advancement is on hold?" she asked, eyebrows slightly raised, like that was news to her. Darren's posture tightened. "I saw the status change last night," I said. "After the cab call, after my name was removed from the change ownership." Lydia looked at Darren for the first time, like she was actually seeing him. "Darren," she said, still calm, "did you announce an advancement before compensation approval cleared?" Darren's smile was small and controlled. "We were confident it would clear. This is how things work during integrations." Lydia didn't argue. She just asked the question that mattered. "Did you have written approval to announce it?" Darren paused half a second too long. "No," he admitted. "But," Lydia held up a hand, "and did you use delegate permissions to assign him as accountable owner on a compliance-sensitive change, while his role was not authorized in HR systems?" Darren's jaw flexed. He glanced at me like he wanted to remind me who he was. "It was operational," he said. "Temporary." Lydia looked back down at my timeline, then at the printed audit trail. "I'm going to be very clear," she said. "Temporary assignments in audit systems are not treated as temporary when something goes wrong." For the first time in days, the pressure in my chest loosened. Not because Lydia was on my side, because she was on the side of the company protecting itself. And that's when the truth finally became inconvenient for Darren. Lydia turned to me. "Did you refuse work?" "No," I said. "I refused unauthorized approvals and exception sign-off until alignment existed. I continued technical support. I documented risk. I followed policy." She nodded once. "That aligns with what legal and security provided." Darren cut in, sharp. "He went around me." Lydia didn't flinch. "He went to governance because governance exists for this exact situation." Then she opened her laptop and read something I couldn't see. "Here's what's going to happen," she said. "First, retaliation concerns, placing the advancement on hold immediately after governance action is being reviewed. Second, the advancement announcement created an employee expectation. HR will not allow this to be used as leverage for unpaid leadership duties." Darren's face went still. Lydia continued steady. Third, until the compensation workflow is resolved, you will not ask him to sign off on exceptions, approvals, or anything that implies authorized accountability. If you need an accountable owner, you will take that ownership yourself or assign someone authorized. I didn't speak. I just let the room settle. Then Lydia said the sentence that changed everything. And finally, Darren, you are removed as his manager effective today, pending review. Darren blinked like he hadn't heard correctly. You can't, he started. Lydia's tone stayed polite, but it hardened. This is not a debate. Compliance and governance have already documented misuse of delegated authority. We are aligning reporting to protect the program and the employee. She looked at me. You will report to Priya on the program side for delivery, and to Alicia in governance for controls, until we place you under a permanent manager. You will not be penalized for escalating policy risk. I exhaled slowly without letting it show as relief. Darren stood up like he wanted to regain control through movement. This is ridiculous, he snapped. He's playing politics. Lydia met his eyes. No, he's making sure the paperwork matches reality. That's not politics. That's compliance. Darren left without another word. When the doors shut, the room got quiet in a different way. Lighter, Lydia looked at me for a long moment. Off the record, she said, you did the right thing. Most people don't. They just absorb it and hope nothing breaks. I wasn't hoping anymore, I said. She nodded. Good. Now we finish this properly. That afternoon, I got 2 emails. The first was from governance. The review of delegated permission misuse was being escalated to ethics and compliance, because it wasn't just a process problem, it was a control problem. The second was from HR Ops. My advancement workflow moved from on hold to approved, with a formal effective date and the compensation letter attached. Not a promise, not applause, a document. By the end of the day, the org file updated, my title changed, my approver level updated. My access requests stopped throwing red errors. And quietly, almost like the company wanted to pretend it never happened, Darren's name disappeared from half the systems he used to control. A week later, I heard he was transitioning out. They didn't call it termination, they never do. But people stopped looking over their shoulder when his name came up, which told me enough. On Friday night, the same window they'd originally set, the rollout went through. Clean, controlled, signed by authorized owners, reviewed by governance, logged correctly, no drama, no hero speech, just reality finally matching the narrative they tried to sell. And that was the most satisfying part of all, because the karma wasn't loud, it was administrative. They announced my advancement before updating the org file because they thought titles were theater and accountability was disposable. What they forgot is that systems remember, and once your name is in the wrong place, the only way out is truth, documented, dated, and impossible to argue with. By the time the applause faded, I didn't need anyone's approval to feel proud. I had the only thing that matters in a place like that. My name was finally where it belonged, and it wasn't anywhere near their mess.